Hi everyone! So we have finished our science block now and we're going to move on to a different curriculum block of learning, and we're going to start looking at history. So history is where we are exploring things that have already happened and events that have happened in the past. Okay, and this block of learning that we're going to explore, we're going to have a little look at previous generations, so what happened when your parents were alive and your grandparents, and also we're going to look at timelines, okay, so putting events in a chronological order. So let's get started then by having a little look at some of the pictures on the screen. And I bet some of you might be looking at them and thinking, oh my goodness, what even are some of those? I don't even know. But hopefully some of your parents will know what they are. So I'm going to go through them all and just have a little discussion with you about what they are. And then I want you to think, when are these pictures from? So are they from today? Are they from in the future? Are they things from the past? Have a little think while I'm telling you. So here I've got a pineapple upside down cake. Okay, a very, very popular cake of its time. It has pineapples on the bottom, it gets cooked in a tin, and then afterwards you turn it upside down and the pineapples are on the top. We've also got some ham served with pineapple rings again. So pineapple rings and cherries are in both those pictures. So very popular food of the time. We've got spam. Ugh, some of you might be thinking, oh, spam, yuck, okay. Some of you might not know what it is. Some of your parents might be watching this thinking, I know what spam is. It's basically processed meat, so it's meat that comes out of a tin, okay, pork that comes out of a tin. Jelly, okay, a nice dessert, we've got jelly. Also got roast dinners, roast meat. Tomato soup, So these are all foods. Have a little think then about these food types. Are they foods that we eat now or foods that people used to eat, do you think? So they are actually food from a different period of time in our living memory, okay? So they're from our parents' generation. So these foods were very popular when our parents were our age, when they were young children. And they used to eat things, lots of tomato soup, lots of tinned foods, because lots of tins and processed foods were starting to come in then, so they could be kept in the cupboards longer and stored for longer. So these were very popular foods that you might see around. And baking, we're doing lots of baking, you might see a lot of pineapple upside down cakes. And as you well know, I love pineapples. That's one of my favourite recipes. And then on the other side of my screen here, I've got some pictures, but these pictures aren't in colour. They're in black and white. So if they're in black and white, what does that mean? Well, it means they were taken before our time, okay? So before when we were younger, so your grandparents' age. And it doesn't mean that the world was black and white. When you looked around, you couldn't see colours. All it means is that photographs and pictures hadn't been developed enough that colour was invented by then. So, for example, computer screens, TVs, TVs were in black and white as well, okay? Just like photographs were in this picture. You can see here at the top, I've got a young girl helping her mum do some cooking there. Here I've got two children who are doing lots of washing up, and here I've got a picture of a street, and you should be able to tell that the cars look very different, but also that there aren't that many cars out on the road. So this isn't something that we could say happens today, because there's lots of cars and lots of transport on the road. But in our grandparents' time, there was not, cars were seen as a luxury and not everybody had a car. So the roads were less full of them. So I've also got some other things on my screen, and hopefully you've guessed by now that these pictures are not from the present day either. So these aren't from living memory either. These are from when your grandparents and maybe your parents were growing up. And here in this first picture, you can see a young boy and he's listening to a radio. Okay, so this is what a radio used to look like about 40, 50 years ago, and he was listening to the radio and listening to all the alerts, because we didn't have things like social media. Not everybody had a TV, so radios were really important, a way of communicating the news and important information that need to be shared with other people. In this picture here, you should be able to see these children in these cars or these go-karts that they have made. Okay, so these children in the neighborhood, they're playing out on the roads, which is something not everybody can do here, because some of our roads, particularly mine, has a lot of cars on it. So I wouldn't be very safe playing out on my road. But years ago, because there weren't that many cars, you could play on your road and it would be very safe. Likewise, the picture at the bottom, we've got some young boys playing football in their street, and there aren't any cars at all. Okay, so this is from a different time period. It's not from our period of time, it's from our grandparents' generation. And I've also put some different objects that you might be familiar with, you might have seen before, but possibly not. Okay, so here we've got a TV, and they're very different to the televisions that you have got, okay, in your houses. And I remember our TV at home when I was a young girl, when I was your age, and the back of the TV, oh, it was like a massive box, and they were so heavy to lift up. Whereas now our TVs are really thin, so they're very different. And first TVs also were black and white, and they only had 4 channels, 5 if you were lucky. Okay, so only 4 different channels to choose from on most TVs. And at a certain time at night, they stopped putting TV shows on. So a lovely picture, I think it was like it sort of looked like a rainbow, and it said, "We will be back at 6 a.m. It would just play music all night, so you couldn't watch TV because there was nothing on, which is very different to how we have nowadays. We've also got this toy here, which is a spinning top. And a spinning top, you pump the top, and then the toy spins and spins and spins. You might have something similar at home. You might have a plastic version of your little babies and brothers that they play with as well. And we've got yo-yos. These ones in the picture are wooden yo-yos, but the ones you have seen or might have at home are plastic. The other thing we've got is a toy car. And this toy car is made out of metal. Just have a little think, is your toy car today made out of metal at home? Probably not. It's probably more than likely made out of plastic. Okay. So let's look at these pictures then. Are these pictures from the same time period as here? Are these items, do you think, when your parents were growing up or not? I would say that these items are present time, okay? So these items are from our generation. For example, look here, I've got a tablet or an iPad, okay? And we have tablets today, but our grandparents didn't have tablets and our parents didn't have tablets growing up as children, but we have them today, don't we? And the reason we have them today and not 50 years ago is because the technology has advanced, things have changed. Okay, people are learning new things all the time as to how to improve things, and a tablet is one of the results of that. We've also got a big widescreen TV, which we just talked about, didn't we? And we said that when I was younger, we had the big box TVs that were really heavy to try and pick up. But now we have thin TVs, okay, which you've got to be careful with because the screens smash a lot easier, don't they? We also have things like PlayStations, Nintendos, DSs, Xboxes, a lot of electronical items, so a lot of electronical toys that they didn't have when your parents or your grandparents were growing up, or when your parents were growing up, they were just being invented. But now we've got lots and lots of different items that we can choose from that rely on electricity. Of course, we've got lots and lots of cars, which is something we also talked about. So thinking about the previous pictures, we said that there weren't that many cars on the road, but now just even looking at this picture, they're parked back to back all along the streets, okay? So there's lots and lots of cars everywhere. And there's even cars for children. And I know my niece has got one of these at home. So it's a little toy car for you to play with, and they look very different, don't they, to the other go-karts. If I flick back, you see here we've got a go-kart, that these children are playing with, and it looks very different to the one that we have today. A lot of our toys as well that we have today are made out of plastic. Okay, but previously, when our parents and grandparents were younger, a lot of objects were made out of wood or metal because they were the resources that were around at the time. They were the materials that a lot of people used to build things out of. But today, in our modern age, a lot of things are made out of plastic. Okay, so a lot of toys are made out of plastic. And also food has changed. Lots and lots of different ways. So when we were younger, in my generation is a different generation to yours, but I ate a lot of roast dinners. Okay, growing up, we had lots and lots of roast dinners. But now, because people go on holiday more, and because people who have lived in different countries are coming to England to live instead, we are exposed to different cuisines, different types of food. So, for example, burgers. Okay, burgers are from America. So people who lived in America would bring that cuisine over and then we'd start eating it. So it's quite relatively new. Curries come from Asia, as do noodle dishes. And then we've got pasta from Europe and Italy. And we've also got some kebabs from Europe as well, like Greece. So all these different food items have come from another country. So these are traditional dishes that these people would eat in their home countries, but they've moved over to England, or people have travelled over to there and they've enjoyed them and they've come back and made all these dishes as well. So now we've got a wider variety of food that we eat and that we are more experimental with. We've also got different types of fruit. And I know I joke about pineapples, but pineapples don't grow in England because it isn't warm enough. They come from a lot hotter climates. And a lot of other fruit, likewise, is like this too. And that fruit has to be exported and then imported into our countries that we can eat it. So because all the trades have improved, means that we can get food from other places around the world as well today. So your parents possibly might have eaten these as children, but your grandparents, some of them might have never eaten some of these cuisines because they've never been to these countries, and they had to wait until they were older to be able to experience them. So now we've had a little explore, I want us to have a think, and I'm going to pull up a picture and I want you to think, is this object from now, is this something we have in this generation, or is it from when our parents and grandparents were young? Okay, so I'm going to pull each one up and I want you to think, is it from now or is it when our parents and grandparents were young? So the first one I've got is electronic games. So are they from now? Do we have these now or when our parents and grandparents were younger? So you should have said now. Well done if you said that. We've got yo-yos. Ooh, wooden yo-yos. When did we talk about toys being made out of wood and metal? Yes, we said before, didn't we? Our grandparents. Oh, we've got this picture here where we've got children playing out in the street with some cars, some go-karts. When's that from? Before, well done. Oh, we've got some plastic toys. That's from now. We've got a widescreen TV. That's from now as well, isn't it? What about a toy car made out of metal? Yeah, that's from our grandparents. What about children playing out on the street and there are no cars on the road? That's from before as well. What about Little Miss Pony? That's from now because it's plastic. What about a spinning top? That's from before as well. And then iPad is from today. So well done if you joined in with me at home and had a little go at doing that. So what I want us to have a little look at doing now, and this is going to be your job at home, is you've got lots of toys up on the screen. I'm going to talk you through them. And I want you to sort them out and decide, are they toys from your parents' generation, or are they toys from your generation, so today? Okay, so I'll talk through them so you know exactly what they are, and I'll drag them over so you can see which one I'm referring to. So let me just send that to the back. There we go. So this is a spinning top, okay? And it's made out of metal. We push it up and down. So you need to have a little think as to which generation that is from. We've also got marbles, marble runs. We've got Care Bear toys. We've got trolls. We've got conkers. So conkers used to be tied on a knot and used to hit the conker to each other and used to have conker fights. We've also got yo-yos, also got plastic toys, iPads. Oh, I hope you've got space hoppers. I love a space hopper. And these three, so we've got a Game Boy, a Rubik's Cube, and a Tamagotchi. Now, I remember somebody last week showed me a Rubik's Cube on Show and Tell. I think it was Yusuf, actually, because he said it was a cube as part of his maths learning. So, your first job is you can pause this screen, have a little discussion, or it's on the website for you to use. It's completely up to you. And I want you to sort out where do these toys belong. So, for example, I know that this wooden yo-yo is from our parents' generation because we've already said it's made out of wood, which is a material that used to be used quite a lot to make toys in that generation. I also know that this iPad here is from my generation, it's from our generation, because it is an electronic device and it is something that we are using today, something that technology has developed. So I want you to have a little explore at doing that for me. That's job number one. And then job number two, I want you to get your thinking caps on and think about how the different objects work. So let's just pick the two that we had before. So I had a spinning top and I also had my iPad. There it is. So how do they work? Well, so the toy from the past, which is the spinning top from a different generation, I have to push it. So it's manual, okay? If you have to move it yourself, we call that manual. You have to push it. So I have to manually press it so that it moves. Whereas an iPad, what do you have to do to an iPad to make sure that it works? Well, you have to plug it into electricity, don't you? We have to give it power. So I have to plug it into a socket so that it has power. Because if it doesn't have power, then it won't work. So straight away, I can see that these are different now, because I can see that in order for my object to move from my parents' generation, I need to press it. I need to put a lot more effort into it. Whereas today's technology, the iPad, all I need to do is plug it into a socket because it's electrical. So I want you to start thinking, is there any similarities or differences between these? Or how have they changed? Or is there anything that's the same about them or games that are the same? So they're your two jobs. This is number one that I want you to do. And then this is number two. Okay? So have a little go at doing those today. Let me know how you get on. And then tomorrow we're going to use this to start looking even further into timelines. But hopefully you'll have a nice little bit of a discussion at home with mums and dads, and they can tell you whether they've had any of these toys or whether they've even got some in the loft for you to have a little play with. Fingers crossed. I'll see you tomorrow for another history lesson. Bye, everyone.